Hey Oasis, Pastor Caleb here. 2 months ago, I had to post an unfortunate video announcing to all of you our plans at Oasis Community Church to comply with the government's request, their guidelines, that we temporarily suspend our in-person services in response to the COVID-19 outbreak. And let me just say that I could not be more proud of how each and every one of you have responded to this season. We said from the very beginning that this was an opportunity for us to be leaders in our community, leaders in our societies, to social distance better than anyone else did. And that meant complying with the requests and the guidelines to stay home as much as we can, but it also meant qualitatively addressing and participating in this season to get the most out of it that we possibly could, spending more time with our families, spending more time working on our relationships. So many of you have reached out to me for video conferencing calls for marital advice or for counseling because you're working on your families. You've opened up the doors of your own church when the doors of our physical building were forced to be shut, and you've adapted so well, and I am so proud of you. We've now had 8 strictly online live stream services on Sunday mornings. We also held an online live streamed Good Friday service. We've had 2 different impromptu worship nights streamed from my own living room. We've produced more than 30 different devotional videos for you, for the adults, for our youth, for our Sunday school age children as well. Oasis Community Church has adapted and has not just survived a season of quarantine, we have thrived in a season of quarantine. I know some of you were nervous at the start of this. How is the church going to survive? How are we going to pay our bills? Are people going to continue to give in this season? And we started this period of time in a position of financial strength. And I'm so grateful to say that we are still in a position of financial strength. And that's because all of you have been so faithful and generous to Oasis Community Church in this season. And we could never express to you our gratitude for that. Now, I think you're starting to notice that society as a whole, the world, our country is beginning to move its attention off of a season of quarantine and onto a new season. And that's a season of reentry. A season of relaunching, a season of reconstruction. So we're asking a question at Oasis Community Church. When and how can we begin to think about reentry, about adapting to a new season of relaunching our in-person services, of reengaging each other here at our facility? And I want to assure you, we are entering into that discussion with an attitude of cooperation, not of rebellion. Whenever we possibly can, we want to ensure that the Christian church is seen as a cooperative organization in the world, a cooperative group of people, a cooperative nation of believers. And I know there are a lot of people in our society who are standing up out of anger, out of frustration, out of a spirit of rebellion against the current mandates for or restrictions over movement, over quarantine, over lockdowns in various areas of our country. I want to assure you that we are not taking that approach nor that attitude into this season. But quarantine was always meant to be for a period of time. It was never intended to be indefinite. We cannot ignore the fact that we're suffering. We were never meant to be isolated. There are spiritual and psychological needs that people have that the church is positioned to meet and address. So we certainly do not want to remain quarantined, to keep our doors shut any longer than we absolutely have to. So we've developed a tentative plan at Oasis Community Church to re-engage you in person at our facility. I say it's tentative because it may not work out. We're going to get a whole lot of interesting data over the next few weeks as different states completely open up, as churches begin to launch in other societies and other communities. We're going to get a lot of data here in Churchill County as they're doing these scheduled tests for the community as a whole. We're going to see how exactly this virus has impacted and spread among us, and that hopefully is going to help us to make educated decisions. But for right now, we feel it's important that we make a plan. And that plan means that June 7th, the first Sunday of June, we hope and intend to be able to launch in-person services here at Oasis Community Church, again, although in a mitigated capacity. You'll notice behind me that we have rearranged the chairs in the room so that we've taken out every other row. We've taken out some chairs from the middle of each row so that the chairs are arranged in a family unit sort of way. There's 5 chairs here, 4 chairs there, so that you can come in and maintain distance, again in cooperation with the government as asking not just from churches but from everyone, so that you can maintain distance from other families, people that you have been quarantined from. In addition to that, because we have half as many seats in the room, we're going to have twice as many services. We don't know for sure they will be full. They may be over full, and some of you may have to turn around and go home because we don't have enough seats. We certainly don't want that to be the case. We're going to have to adapt, even after June 7th, to whatever kind of results we see from this. But we are going to have 2 services so that we have an opportunity for as many people to be involved as would like to. Those services will take place at 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. We've spaced them out far enough so that in between the services we can spend some extra time sanitizing the different surfaces that you all may be touching while you're here. The doors, for example, the restrooms, the armrests on all of our chairs. We're going to be working again in a spirit of cooperation to do our best to move forward responsibly and to re-engage each other. I'm sure you're going to have a few questions in regard to this. Are we going to have breakfast? Many of you know we typically, historically, have done a Sunday morning breakfast for all of you before the service every single week. For now, we feel that it's best to not re-engage that particular ministry. So on June 7th, we will not have a breakfast before or after any of our services. Again, 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. Some of you may be asking about Sunday school. Where will I send my kids? We feel that at this time, we're not quite ready or prepared. We don't quite have the data to make an educated plan or a decision to relaunch Sunday school services. So for now, your child will stay with you if you are comfortable, if they feel that they would enjoy that here in our main service with their families. We do feel, however, that it is important and necessary and that we can proceed cooperatively to launch nursery services here at the church. So if you feel comfortable having someone watch your infant or your young child so that you can engage in the service, we are going to have workers there. Our workers will be wearing masks. I know some of you feel that masks are unnecessary. Many of you probably would appreciate the worker taking care of your child, the volunteer, to be wearing a face covering. We want to ensure that anyone who does have concerns over this virus of re-engaging society, that we're respecting those concerns as best we can so that people can be comfortable re-engaging each other again. It's going to be different. It's going to be weird. But just as we've done so well in adapting to the season of quarantine, I know we can do very well in adapting to a season of reentry, a season of relaunching, a season of re-engaging again, not out of a spirit of rebellion, but out of a spirit of cooperation. This is a tentative plan, but if you've been at church, you know that we're getting ready to start a series on the book of Exodus, and in Exodus, that's when God pulls his people out of sort of a quarantine of slavery in Egypt. So on June 7th at 9 a.m. and 11 a.m., we will have people, hopefully, tentatively, in our building for our own personal Exodus from quarantine as we begin our series on that Old Testament work of literature. We are going to continue our live streaming services. I want to assure you of that. As long as you feel you need to stay home, we're going to keep reaching you in your home, and we intend to continue those live streaming services indefinitely so that those of you who are part of our church but don't live here in Fallon can still engage our church. I'm proud of every single one of you. I'm proud of our church. We not only have survived this season, we have thrived during this season, and it's time for us to begin looking at thriving in the season ahead. So So may the Lord bless you, may He keep you, may He make His face shine upon you, and let's continue to adapt. Let's continue to thrive. Let's continue to cooperate, just as we have always done. I love you all, and I hope to see you soon.